It is time for our first adventure of the summer. We're in San Antonio, Texas, where we're going to the International School Technology Exhibition. And while we're here, we're trying to get in some local sites, including the Alamo. Remember the Alamo. A little bit of history here. The Alamo was originally built in the 1700s as a home for missionaries in what was at that time Mexico, I apologize. Yes, Texas did belong to Mexico before it became part of the United States. It was also its own separate country before it became part of the United States. In 1836, the Mexicans decided that they had enough of those Texans talking about pulling out of Mexico, and they took and invaded Texas and attacked the Alamo. There was 186 defenders that were located here at the time. Of those 186, a couple of famous ones you might recognize. Jim Bowie, he was the guy who's famous for creating the Bowie knife, and Davy Crockett, who was born in Tennessee, wore a coonskin hat, and had a rifle named Betsy. So you can see here Jim Bowie, also James Bowie, I've heard him referred to as both ways. That's a statue dedicated to him. And he did not get a whole lot of fighting done in the Alamo itself. When the invasion took place, he was sick in bed. He was being taken care of by his wife, and him and a handful of defenders were murdered right here in what is known as the Low Barrack. Now, this is not the original Low Barrack. This is a recreation of it, but it gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. And this is a statue of Davy Crockett. Amongst other things, he was a congressman from Tennessee, as I recall. You can see Betsy up on his shoulder. Betsy was given to him by the good people of Tennessee as appreciation for all the work that he had done for them. So right now we're inside the original church of the Alamo, and you can see that if you take and look at the bottom versus the top, it's very different in structure. That's because it did not get done all in one setting. They started it doing one type of work, and then they had to come back and finish it using other methods many, many years later. Now right here is a model of what the Alamo had looked like back in its glory days. Most of all this is gone. All that's left right now is the church that you see right here, and then parts of this area right here that we're going to go into in just a minute. But all the outer barrier of the Alamo is long since lost. The last offenders of the Alamo died inside the church, and you can see some of the bullet holes still listed in the wall, showing in the wall from where that final battle took place. Check out these magnificent chandeliers that they have inside the church. So I always wondered how the story of the Alamo survived. If they killed all 186 of the defenders, how did the story of how they died, the legends, live on? Well, it turns out that in the sacristy of the church, the women and children that were the wives and children of the men that were stationed here holed up, and they were allowed to survive. All the men were killed, every one of the defenders, but the women and children were allowed to survive. This large oak tree is located inside the remains of the Alamo. Somehow it just really seems out of place here in San Antonio, Texas. You don't see many big trees like this. So what did the 186 men buy with their lives? Well, what they did is they bought time for the rest of the people in the area that would become Texas to gather up their forces to defend against Santa Anna's army. Santa Anna attacked the Alamo with 2,600 men. 186 men defended the Alamo for 6 days against a force of 2,600. They bought time during that time. They bought enough time for can't remember the name now, the Texas general, to take and gather up his forces so that they could meet Santa Anna's army and defeat it.